So, welcome everybody to this episode of the latest Insight podcast. The last episode, I had one of my first guests, and now I'm having my second, which I'm really excited to expand the conversations, expand the community, and just bring in different perspectives and, have this back and forth conversation with people that I feel there's a resonance, and at the same time, there's different angles. So, trying to also come with different perspectives and so that we can deepen together. There's such a beautiful thing about deepening together. It's like this feeling that you're not alone, this feeling that, okay, others are going through similar things, but from different angles, or there's different stories, but they're all telling the same principles. And there's something that just heals, right, when we're together. So I'm so happy to bring that element and welcome Hedda to the latest Insight podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a while since you invited me to come on.
Yeah, thank you. So let's start by dropping in a little bit, and then I'm going to introduce who Hedda is and introduce the topic, and then we're just gonna go. I have some questions, and we'll see where it takes us. This topic is so big for both of us, and for you that are listening as well, for all of us. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of good things here. So just taking a little moment, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, to bring your awareness from the outer world to the inner world, in whatever capacity works for you in this moment. Noticing what you're sitting on, where the body meets the ground, the sofa. Maybe you're standing and doing something, so where the feet meets the floor. And just noticing where your body is meeting whatever is holding it. Seeing if you can relax the jaw a little bit more. Relaxing the shoulders a little bit more, just a little bit. Lessening the resistance little by little. Noticing your hips, your belly, your legs, and just seeing for a moment if you can drop in a little bit deeper. Notice how your breath responds. Seeing if there's an opening in the belly, opening in the chest, and letting go on the exhale. Maybe there's a slight sound that wants to come out. Really telling your body that it's safe to let go a little bit right now. It's safe to let energy come and go, and the moment to come and go, and for things to come and go. Connecting to the spaciousness within you and around you. So, as always, interacting exactly as you wish. If we're just on in the background and you're listening to the replay, then I hope that this serves you so deeply. And if you are live, feel free to interact in the chat, and just know that you can join these live recordings if you want to be in that energy with us. So just taking all the time that you want and that you need to open your eyes, or maybe you want to stay with your eyes closed and keep this meditative state as we go into the topic today. So for those who don't know who I am Elisabeth. Maybe this is the first time you're watching or listening. And I'm a breathworker and mentor for people going through transformation in their life, like wanting to do things differently, wanting to really live a different reality that is aligned with their intuition, their soul, their heart, their passion, their creativity, their inspiration, and to do it with ease. Because you can do things, you can get a lot of results through pushing and forcing, and you can really get successful in that way. But I'm in the path of the ease and grace. So I love the work that I do, and the latest Insight podcast is really just a touch point, a community effort to bring in conversations to support your journey and also get to know me and the people that I know. And yeah, it's just a touch point for you. So today we are going to talk about self-trust. And I met Hedda on Instagram. Love that. And just instantly kind of, yeah, I feel like we had a connection. And the the word self-trust or the theme of self-trust is one of the pillars of my brands as well. I have a triangle with a circle in it. That's my brand. The triangle represents self-trust, belief, and worth. And then the circle is that transformation part, that part that's always moving, that's always shifting. And the self-worth, trust, and belief is like that stable uh, triangle, the stable shape, or what do you call it? Yeah, that. And self-trust is one of them. And it's like one of the biggest things that I work with my clients. And then she has created a whole brand around self-trust. And it's just like, wow, what a beautiful thing to dedicate your work towards and dedicate your time towards talking about it, creating spaces for this. So Hedda's work is rooted in a simple but profound belief that most of us already hold the answers we're looking for, but we've lost trust in our own inner voice. So she does coaching, subconscious work, and deep exploration of identity and helps people move from people pleasing and self doubt towards authenticity, courage, and genuine self trust. Her mission is to help people stop shrinking themselves and start to live from a place that feels honest and deeply aligned. So today we're going to be talking about, and you are a coach, an NLP practitioner, and a founder of the Self Trust Club, a community dedicated to helping people reconnect beyond expectations, conditionings, and self-doubt. So we're going to talk about the relationship of self-trust today. And I thought it was the perfect person to bring on for this. And what it really means. Like, do we lose it? How do we build it? How do we keep it? Is it one of the most important relationships that we can cultivate? Cultivate. So welcome again, Hedda. I'm so happy that you're here.
You.
How are you feeling?
Oof, I'm feeling very grateful for this opportunity. I was initially like a little bit nervous when you reached out, but it just felt like it came at the right time. And this feels like such a beautiful way to actually dive a little bit deeper into this topic and to talk about it in a more nuanced way, because I think that's something I experience a lot on Instagram, which is my main platform where I share videos, and I love talking about this topic. It can be hard to sometimes really dive into the nuances of it and the depths of it when you're
Yeah,
trying to make a 2-minute reel. So I'm feeling very grateful. I'm feeling honored that you thought of me for this, and I'm feeling really curious about what this conversation might bring. Mm.
amazing. Yeah. So let's start with like the basic surface. When you think about self-trust and someone's like, okay, Hedda, I want to build self-trust in
Good
myself.
idea.
How do I do that? What is like the first kind of principle? What are the first things that kind of start to scream, or not scream, but you know what I mean? Like, what are the first things we should look at? What's the first foundational homework for that
Hmm.
that
Well,
you give your clients?
yes. So I would say, first of all, it's how we look at self-trust. I think a lot of people look at self-trust as this kind of thing that you either have or you don't, or, this thing that you can achieve. But I really think it's like you say, it's a relationship and that we can cultivate or cultivate.
Cultivate, cultivating.
Ultimating the self-trust. Yeah, I think the question I would ask a client would be, how would you cultivate trust with someone else? Like, what are the things that make you trust another person? I
Mm,
came across this really beautiful concept, which is from a book by Stephen R. Covey. It's The 7 Habits of Effective People.
okay.
And it's a lot about leadership and different things. It's a really good book. But he had this concept called the trust account, I believe it was called, or maybe it was called something different. but it spoke about how we essentially have this kind of account of trust in our relationships with other people. And I just really connected with that idea. And I feel like it also is true for our self trust. And when he spoke about it, he spoke about ways that we can make deposits into this trust account. And the ways were things like keeping your word to the person, keeping your promises to them. That's a great place to start. We trust people when they do what they tell us they're going to do.
Hmm.
Um, Saying kind words, small acts of kindness, being consistent, showing up, and like just being genuine and curious about the other person, right? We trust someone when they actually listen to us, when they're curious about us, when they take our opinion into account. And then, maybe some of the things that break trusts are the opposite. If someone shuts us down or they tell us they're going to do something and then they don't do it, right? These are things that make us maybe trust the person less. And I think this also applies to our own relationship with our own self-trust.
Yep. That was good. Sometimes it's nice to kind of, because sometimes our relationship with other people can be so clear because we focus so much on them, like, I trust you, I
Yes.
don't trust you,
Yeah.
instead of being, and what does that actually mean? And then can we reverse that to ourselves, bring the same qualities
Mm,
into self-trust? Yeah, that was nice perspective.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's that's like the a thing that's hard that we keep hearing. There's so many quotes about this. Like, would you
Yep.
speak to yourself the way that I don't know, would you speak to your best friend the way that you speak to yourself, right? Like,
Classic.
classic, and it's easy to say it and it's a little bit harder to practice, like holding ourselves
Oh
to the
yeah.
same standard that we would with our relationship with other people. But I really think there is a lot of value in exploring that and asking some questions about how we're actually showing up for ourselves, and why do we not hold ourselves to the same standard in our relationship with ourselves that we do with others.
That's huge. And why? Like, why? I mean, now we're gonna go on a side tangent, but like, why do you
Love
think
side
that?
tangent.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why do you think that is? Like, why do we have so much resistance towards ourselves? And it's so much easier to, be in service for others or like get that
Mhm.
external. But then when you take care of yourself, when you follow your own needs, when you follow your own, then it's like, oh, you're selfish, or there's this feeling of, you put yourself first, and that's so looked down upon. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so there's a bit of deconditioning happening there of like how do we find the balance of because and then you have, the other extreme where it's like if you only think about yourself, then suddenly you're not a villager, right? You're not
Mm,
contributing, you're not being a part of the collective, community, which I think is so important. But then if you're too much with you, so it's kind of like can both, why don't yeah, why don't they
yeah,
both get to exist a bit more
at the same time.
fluidly?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally feel what you're saying, and I think it's a lot of conditioning like you
Yep.
mentioned. I think we pick up these beliefs as we move through life, and we somehow live with the illusion that they are our own beliefs, and often they're not. They're often just things that we've observed or we've taken in from adults in our lives when we were kids, right? And
Yep.
things we've seen, and I think a lot of us, when we actually stop and we ask ourselves questions, a lot of us do have these beliefs about, me prioritizing my needs is selfish, or me putting myself first is not kind. And I personally believe that it actually can be the kindest thing ever. Like, it really, I have so much more capacity and so much more love and patience when I take care of myself, right? And with this work that I want to do, and I know you do a lot of, generous, heart-led work as well. You can't give from an empty cup. You really
No.
can't. So is it selfish, or is it actually kind of us to do that work and take care of ourselves, and so that we can give more, right?
Yeah. And it is like going against a lot of conditioning because it's like this. We were just talking before the episode as well. It's like there's a lot going on in my life right now, and I feel like I dropped the ball with a couple of things. but it hasn't been a long period of that. And then I'm just like, yeah, I need to take care of myself a bit more. Like this is just a sign where it's like I need, to set more boundaries and to take care of my needs. And through that, everything else gets better. And but it's such a rewire. It's such a different approach somehow.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is rewiring, and rewiring takes time and effort. I genuinely believe, when people ask me with NLP work, a lot of the work is unconscious work and looking at these, beliefs that we build, and people ask me, like, can we really change things that we believe, and can we really stop thinking this way? And my answer is always yes, absolutely, but it's not this like magic quick
Hmm.
fix from a day to the next. Like, it's a choice, and it does take time, and you have to consistently choose it, and take some of those steps both in your actions but also in your way of thinking. And yeah, it is a journey to go on, and we can't rewire everything at once. It might be a period where you focus on one thing, and then you move to the next, and so on. Mm,
Exactly. And I
yeah.
really believe that we are in relationship somehow to life, and but at the same time we are life. So it's kind of this weird experience of being a human where we are, but we also are in a relationship. We're in a dynamic with, I believe, everything. Like we're in a relationship with people, we're in relationship with our emotions, we're in relationship with our environment. And
Mm,
we're talking about how self-trust is a relationship as well. It's something that I do believe that you can dock into a certain integration, right? So like the embodiment is a docking, I feel. It's a resting place, like your baseline. But that
mm,
still is like even if you're docked in the with your boat, the water is still like there's still movement, right? There's still storms, there's still things, even though you are docked in. So there's this feeling that, yeah, it's just a constant refinement process when it comes to relating to life, to yeah, our needs and how we're like navigating all of this.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there's no like simple answer. Life is always changing, and
Yeah.
sometimes we think that we've learned something, and then something happens and circumstances change, and we're kind of having to navigate it again in a different way, which is beautiful as well, right? It can be
Yeah.
really hard, but there's also so much learning there. And yeah, going back to what we just spoke about with these, built-in beliefs that we have about trusting ourselves being selfish, or
Hmm.
these kind of things, it like sparked this question in my head, which is, even if you do understand what self-trust is and we get clear on how we can build it, there's this element of, do you have the courage to do so? Because
Mm.
there are some uncomfortable beliefs that you're going to have to face, and there's some possible fear around, how does putting myself first affect my relationships, or what are the reactions that come with this, or does it feel safe in my body? And changing our behavior can be really scary sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna go into that. So I have
Mm.
one more question that's a little bit more like the starter pack of self-trust. How do you know, I mean, it's a big question. How do you know when you're not trusting yourself? Like what are some signs when you can find in your body or in your life where you're like, okay, I'm in resistance right now, or there
Mhm.
are some signs here that I'm falling into lack of trust.
Hmm. Good question. I think one of the easy ways for me, one of the ways that I notice it, is this kind of not keeping my word to myself. So when I start making a lot of kind of empty promises to myself, that's often a sign to like stop for a second. And a sign that can feel a little bit maybe deeper and harder is how you feel in relationships. So maybe this sense of like feeling not comfortable expressing yourself really, or feeling a bit lonely in your relationships, or feeling like, am I really allowing myself to take space here, or do I even know what I want? That's another thing that comes up a lot. with my clients, and I often use an example for myself. I think my therapist asked me this way back when I started this journey and started discovering that I had a little bit of self-trust work to do. She asked me, she kind of was figuring me out, and she was a really, really good therapist. And she asked me, Hedda, do you sometimes, like if you're at a party and someone asks what music you would like to listen to, how does that make you feel? And my answer was like totally stressed. Like my brain goes blank. Like I did not at that point, like did not know how to connect with what I wanted. I was so used to
Mm.
focusing on what other people wanted to listen to, and the thought of me choosing a song for the whole party to listen to only based on what I wanted to dance to felt really uncomfortable. And there was this like sense of panic. And that's something a lot of clients relate to when I tell that story. A lot of like group participants related to that when I did my people pleasing group course. And yeah, this sense of, if I'm not connected with what I like, I'm not connected with who I am, I'm not listening to myself.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's beautiful. That's a beautiful answer, like a nice approach to noticing when you're out of trust, you're actually out of connection to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like every conversation, I'm like, we could go on all these side tangents.
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of things you could explore.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I've been for the past 2 years diving very deep into trauma work as a body worker and like really being trauma informed and more in the embodiment part of like how is this actually showing up in our body? Like what is the practical, like what is happening in our animal body?
Mm.
And what do you think about, I don't know how much nervous system work because you are also very much into the belief work and things like this. And I'm
Yeah.
bringing in a lot of the embodiment work, but I believe that the nervous system obviously affects our relationship to everything, but
Okay.
how is it affecting our ability to trust ourselves? Because my idea is that when we are in fight or flight, when we are in freeze, when we are in people pleasing,
Mhm.
fawning, that connection is not clear, right? So the connection is like it's actually kind of directly translating to I don't trust. It
Mhm.
basically, right? Because it's like I need to protect myself, I need to hide myself, I need to
Mhm.
change myself, and I need to leave. So,
Yeah.
and that's basically like I don't trust the situation, right? I don't trust life. I don't trust this person. So,
Mm.
you know, the importance of regulation work and embodiment work to be able to stand in the trust because there's a lot of confrontation and a lot of, yeah. What do you think? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, again, this comes back to the question of like, do you have the courage to do so? Because it takes a lot of courage to face those situations where our body literally doesn't feel safe.
Safe, yeah.
This is one of the like things I love about your content as well. And I'm personally not like certified in nervous system work. It's something I would love to get into. I have dived into it because I do think it is so connected to self-trust. And I think a lot of the time when we have these reactions of just like putting our needs aside or changing who we are to make the other person happy, I think a lot of the time it can be simply a nervous system response to not feeling safe to do anything else. It's this sense of, oh, like their reaction could make me feel unsafe if I disagree with them and that causes a reaction, or if I say something that they take personally, that might cause a reaction, and I don't feel safe in my body to receive that reaction. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
So trust for me is I when I think of trust, I think of that emoji with the sparkles, like the sparkle emoji. That's kind of like a trust
Absolutely.
emoji for me. It's like this, it's the unknown for me. The
Mhm.
trust is like an energy that's kind of like it's not a ground. It's for me at least. That's how I experience it. It's not a mountain. It's not really earthy. it's more spiritual in a way because it is more this kind of like, but you don't see it. Like,
Mhm.
so it's a lot about the relationship to the unknown.
Yeah.
So you can ground it in the sense of like following through with your word. And like at some point, anything you put attention to, I think becomes more physical. So you can become an embodied trustworthy person.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning or when you're relating to trust, it is relating with an unknown energy, with with
Mm.
unexpectedness, with I don't know exactly how this is going to go, but there's an intuitive feeling. There is a there's a standard that I'm holding, but as I
Mhm.
hold it, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. Even though I have a feeling like, okay, I know what it's like to be a person who stays true to themselves, that gives good results, but I don't know exactly what. I don't know how people are going to respond. And that unknown is such a big part of my work as well, and like a pillar of what I work with my clients because they need to have a relationship to the unknown in order for trust to work.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's absolutely there is this sense of like trust. How can I put it? Yeah, I like the idea of the word trust also being something more spiritual, like because you can say, trust in life or trust in the universe. And I think when it comes to the unknown, that's often where a lot of fear comes up, and we want
Exactly.
control and we want to know the outcome. And I think we're all guilty of this. It's something I notice in myself often, and I have to kind of stop and repeat this, trust. And yeah, yeah, it's a beautiful way of looking at it, I think. Trusting in the unknown, trusting that things are going to be okay, even if they're not exactly what we think they will be.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think when we're giving away this trust, so if it is a spiritual intuition kind of guiding force that we all have, that we need to have some sort of a regulated state to be able to have a good relationship. We need to be able to stand up for ourselves and kind of move with the motions of that, like moving trust.
Mm.
It's like when we're not having that completely, I'm trying to see how I want to say this. It's kind of like, why are we giving our trust outside of ourselves, right? Like when we are looking for answers outside of ourselves, or when we are, waiting for something to happen in order to feel like, okay, now I can trust this, right? Like I trust what I see instead
Mm.
of trusting your own body. But how can you trust your own body if you can't feel your own body, right? And that's why I think the embodiment work and the work that I do with my clients, that's why I'm so passionate about, thawing the freeze and really getting into engagement in your body so that you can, you know, have this awakened,
Mm.
yeah, relationship to life because then you can actually, yeah, be connected and you're not outsourcing your power in a sense. I mean, it's like all these buzzwords, but
Mm.
outside of yourself. Because I think that's also where a lot of us are kind of messing up the trust because we're like trusting only if all the things are in order, trusting if I get the validation. I will trust that this is good when someone else tells me it's good. I'm going to trust that this is going to work when I have the proof that it works. And that's not
Yes.
trust, right? That's actually giving your authority and your power
Mm.
away. It's something completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. I really relate to that. It has a totally different sound to it even when you say it out loud or when you ask yourself. It's like, can I trust myself to earn 500,000 by this date and get this amount of followers or whatever it is? It's like it would kind of be pretending or like forcing because it's something outside of you, like saying, yeah, I can trust myself to get this specific outcome by this date, as like well intentioned as that could be. It might end up having the opposite effect where you end up trusting yourself less and you get frustrated and sad and confused when you don't reach that goal. Whereas saying, can I trust myself to give my all to this process, or can I trust myself to show up and work on these things, or to be
Hmm.
open, or to be curious, or to be dedicated? that's something that no one can take away from you, no matter what the outcome
Exactly. Exactly.
is.
The environment is not influencing that, you are influencing your environment.
Yes. Yeah.
I had a woman, a really intelligent woman, some years ago, and I would always say trust the process. I mean, that's a big thing, right? And that was so hard for me to understand for so many years. My clients know this, that I hated the process, and I didn't understand when people said trust the process, trust the process. And I'm like, well, the process is freaking hard and it's painful. Like, how am I supposed to trust this? And I
Mm,
remember that this woman, she goes, well, what process are you trusting? Like, what are we trusting here? Like trust the process. Like, what process? Which one? And
yeah.
so when we say like trust, self-trust and trusting life, or it's like what are we putting our relationship to the unknown, our unwavering confidence in the unknown towards, right? Like what's the point of all of this? Why lead with self-trust? What is it? What are we doing?
Mm, what are we doing?
What are we doing? Like why? But
I don't
yes, I don't know.
ask me. Um, what are we doing? I mean, I
So
think,
before, just one thing,
yeah,
the definition of trust, because I bring in a lot of definitions in my world to really bring this context. It's the firm belief in what is it called? The reliability? No, the
reliability.
reliable. Thank you.
The words are are
Words
blending
are
together.
not wording today, I promise. Okay. Firm belief in the reliability,
Mm,
truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. So our
mm,
trust is the relationship of this is gonna work, or this is the truth, this matters, this is important, this is powerful.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the definition. I think the question that comes to my mind, rather than, needing to understand exactly why, or why we like should, again, this word, I hate the word should, why we
Yeah.
should live our life this way, or we should trust ourselves, or we should do this. I guess the question is like, what will make your life happier? What will make your life more meaningful? What will make your life more enjoyable and authentic and real? And I think that's a question that everyone gets to answer for themselves,
In their own way. Yeah.
in their own way. But for me, when I think about the fact that I'm only going to be here for a certain amount of time, and thinking about like what I really want to do with that time, and how I want to show up and live it, I just feel so like sad by the thought of me making myself small my whole life, and like shrinking myself, and living in this like state of constant like fear and doubt, and not listening to my voice. Like the idea of living my life like that just doesn't excite me, or
Yeah.
bring me joy. So I think, to me, that's the purpose, and it's the purpose is to show up in this life as authentically as you can, and to live a life that you're really connected with, and that feels like your life, not like everyone else's, or what people are telling you to do. um yeah, and having fun doing so. Yeah, removing some of those shoulds, and some of that pressure, and some of those blocks.
Yeah.
Mm,
So your reliability, in this sense, your trust is your voice, your
mm,
authenticity, like what feels natural for you, what feels aligned for you. That's what
yeah.
you're kind of using as a trust compass in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. Actually stopping, and asking questions. What do I want, or what are my values, or what do I really think about this? Because there's so many things we pick up along the way, and we live our life by things that we've learned from other people, or society, or yeah,
Hmm.
just that kind of stopping, and asking asking ourselves, yeah, what is important to me here? How do I see this, or who am I? Yeah, big
Who
question.
I know, I can feel it. I feel the mysticism, the mysticalness is coming in now. This like and trust is such a like I feel it's such a spiritual charged frequency because it's like your relationship to oh, I was just feeling it when you were talking. It's the relationship to whatever it is that you want to make important.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just feel I'm feeling it in my body, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it can be really powerful. I mean, even when I think of trust, like real deep trust I have in relationships with other people, that feeling of like just pure like trust is such a strong, beautiful feeling. Like when I think of my partner, like now we're doing long distance for a couple of months and there's I'm just noticing this sense of like deep trust. Like there's no part of me if he doesn't text me for a few hours or if he's going somewhere, there's like no part of me that like doubts him or that starts asking questions. It's just this like beautiful sense of trust and I have it in some of my friendships as well where we're able to just like share so vulnerably with each other because there's this like deep sense of trust that the other person
Yeah.
sees you, that they are not going to assume the worst about you. They're not going to like take what you're telling them and twist it. Like it's such a beautiful, safe, expansive place to be. Like from that place of trust, I think you can really expand in a way that is really hard to do when there's not that element of trust there because we get fearful and we start to kind of, I don't want to show myself as much or
Hmm.
I don't want to share as much and
It's vulnerable, right? It's so vulnerable to trust actually because you are it's like this invisible energy, even though it can be strengthened through action and obviously and I think
yes.
a lot of things that we're looking for like love or this feeling of truth or it's
Mhm.
something that ultimately we need to feel without anything else, right? Like there's like I like to think of it as like valves in us that we need to turn back on because they got turned off.
Mm,
A lot of us trust we've been betrayed. There's a lot of valves that got shut off. Like they, you know, I was betrayed. I can't trust people. I mean, how many people are going around with trust issues, right? And I really believe that people can show us the most incredible relationships to trust and we can build it together. But
mm,
ultimately, it's a deeper concept of trusting
mhm,
that power or this intuitive, natural energy within us. And maybe trusting ourselves is actually the same as trusting life, where
mm,
it's just like this relationship of whatever that means, because it's going to look so different and we could talk forever about it. And it's kind of something that's hard to talk about. But then
mm,
we get these experiences through humans that are so fun for the human experience to feel trust in somebody else. But that will, from in my perspective, it will always be vulnerable
yeah.
when we are dealing with outsourcing any of these things. So if I outsource my
Mm,
trust or I put my trust in you, even if
mm,
you are a very trustworthy person, you could still hurt me because you are human. You
yeah.
are human. You could still mess up. And
Yeah.
that's a scary thing. So if I put all of my trust in you and I project all
Mm,
trust into our relationship and you are the symbol of trust, and then
yeah.
you could hurt me. And I'm not gonna wait for that. I'm not going to expect it, but it's like it's a reality of this human impermanence in a way. So it's
Mm,
this feeling
yeah.
of, okay, the trust is also coming from something much deeper and something we can fulfill within ourselves as well, and then kind of just overflow and have this beautiful interactions that we have with each other that are often relationships are often, you know, full of everything, right? A bit messy and but the more we do this work, I think the more we attract, and the more we yeah, I think the more, ironically, the more we trust in life and the more we trust in this natural energy within us to be like following the intuition and following your standards, following the things that you feel are really important to your heart, it leads you to more trustworthy people. So it's kind of this, but
Yeah.
again, there's always, there's always, you know, humans, we're here to learn and there will always be vulnerability, I think, a potential of getting hurt. And then
Yeah.
can you trust that, right? It's just like
Mhm.
always going back.
I think that's such an important point that you made, like as I was listening to you, I was like, yeah, that's true. This trust that we have in our relationships with other people, it is still something external and it's not something that we can fully control. And it would be an illusion to think that we could. Um,
Hmm.
and that led to me like thinking about something that has also shown up a lot, which I think is, this sense of people maybe feeling like if they choose to trust someone or something, or they choose to show up with trust in a situation, and then this person or this situation ends up, hurting them, they often feel foolish afterwards, or they
Yeah,
feel like
I've
that kind of,
experienced this before. Hmm.
yeah, I think it's a very, very human experience. And I think, what you just said is so true and so important because, yeah, we cannot fully control what other people do, but can we still choose to trust? And can we, if that trust is deeper, like you said, if it's not necessarily, I'm trusting this person because I know that there's zero chances that they're going to hurt me, maybe can we still choose to show up and say, I'm going to show up trusting in this situation, and that's something I'm choosing. And, whatever this person chooses to do, if they then go behind your back and they betray your trust, does that reflect, like, what are we making that mean? Does that mean that we were silly to trust, or
Hmm.
does it say something about them and, their choices? Mm,
Yeah. When you say this, it kind of, the shadow of trust comes up where it's just like, there's moments in, I've had this moment before where it's just like, okay, I put my trust in this and then later it didn't work out and then feeling kind of embarrassed and being like, wow, did I really just let that just happen? Like, but then I can track my system and see that it was kind of a shadow trust. It was this thing of I actually wasn't fully listening to my intuition. I mean, how many times do you get in a situation where you're like, if I listened to my intuition, if I really followed my truth, if I really followed my heart, if I really followed the principles that I want to lead my life, I probably wouldn't have gotten into that position. But of course, we need these things to learn that and strengthen them to
yeah.
hopefully not do it again. So I feel like
Mm,
that we can kind of kid ourselves and being like, oh, but I was trusting and I was doing this. But it's like, were you really? Were you really? Because I've
mm,
noticed parts of me where I was just like, the intuition was screaming or the wisdom was there, but
yeah.
I didn't trust it. I trusted safety. I trusted the other person. I trusted the illusion of comfort in the moment. I trust, like, it can be a bit yeah.
Yeah, it can be hard to know like when are we fully trusting ourselves. And looking back, hindsight is always, I don't remember the name of that saying, but like you look back and it's easy to say, okay, like after reflecting, I can see some of those signs there. I can see, there was a little bit of suspicion, or there was a sense in my body that this wasn't, it. And then that comes with often a lot of judgment and self-criticism. And I think this is another thing that I think is really interesting to explore when it comes to self-trust, is like, again, this like trusting ourselves to show up and to deal with change and to deal with these moments where we're not maybe able to show up, quote unquote, perfectly, because it's sometimes we're not, and it's because
Hmm.
we're human. And again, it's this kind of, the self-trust itself, like the wanting to build self-trust, can become like another thing where we're hard on ourselves about not trusting ourselves fully in every
Yeah,
situation. Yeah.
exactly. And I
Mm.
think I'm definitely a recovery for being hard on myself, like a really highly critical person. And I think a lot of leaders, creative leaders, people working on themselves, the shadow side is to be highly critical of yourself. But I've noticed with my process lately is that I'm not as I really overcame it in so many ways, which is makes my life so much easier. We
Mm.
all can relate. If you've reached that point where you're not hard on yourself anymore, it's just like life is so much
Send me
softer,
the tips.
so much easier. Yeah.
Yeah.
And So what happened, I went through an experience earlier this year where I was just like kind of felt this little embarrassment and I felt this little like, okay, did I really yeah, I didn't. The pain that I'm going through right now is actually because of consequences of numbness. It's consequences of not trusting. Like, there's consequences of not trusting yourself. I'm fully believe it because I see the results of trusting. There
Mm,
are tangible results, spiritual results, emotional results, mental, energetic, like alignment high is a real thing. Like when you trust yourself, when you make decisions, when you really do the heart aligned thing for yourself, even if it's difficult, you get results, you get rewards for that. And then you get consequences when you don't. I really believe in that because I've just been through that spectrum.
yeah.
And what I noticed was that I'm excited about it now. So when I experience something where I can look back and be like, oh, I didn't listen to my intuition, I didn't follow that fully, I was numb. I people pleased. I shut down. I didn't speak my opinion. I didn't say what I needed. I didn't trust my voice, my, feminine intuition, my intelligence, my whatever it was that wanted my trust in that moment. Like,
Mm,
even though you don't know what this is going to look like, this is what needs to move forward. This is what needs your attention. This is what needs priority. And when I didn't do that, and now looking back and being like, okay, but now I'm stronger because I'm never going to do that again, right? I'm never going to let myself get to that point again because I could see in hindsight, instead of being down on myself, I can actually be like excited or kind of like taking notes to being like, okay, and that's the relationship, right? Where it's like getting a direct relationship with situations where you haven't trusted yourself and then being mature enough to be like, okay, I'll just do better next time instead of being like, oh my God, why did I do that? And another part was also forgiving myself, like actually forgiving myself for not trusting myself. And that I
mm,
think in itself is like the maybe a foundation rewiring you were talking about in the beginning to follow through and to show up for yourself, to actually acknowledge I didn't follow my intuition. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't hear that voice. I'm sorry that I didn't feel the sensations. I'm sorry that I didn't, trust you, which is me,
yeah.
right? And it's just
Right.
like, let's start there and
Mm,
then we can get stronger. And then you'll notice what I've noticed is I'm so much more opinionated. I'm so much more like, I'm just more alive. I don't, so cheesy to say it like that. But lack of self-trust, like you were saying, it makes you smaller. It
mm,
puts you in the corner. It keeps you in trauma responses. It makes you want to hide, leave, defend, put up a shell, change, people please. And it's like when we kind of rebuild that with ourselves and we're excited about it, yeah,
yeah.
it's has so many rewards.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that's something a lot of people can relate to, that sense of that high that you spoke about, whenever you have really chosen things for yourself and you feel in alignment. It's such an incredible feeling, and I find that often when I do make those hard choices and I do trust myself, it's almost like from one day to the next, all of a sudden there's all these opportunities showing up, or life is just kind of
Hmm.
giving me these little gifts. And I don't know if that's like a coincidence, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like life is almost like rewarding me for listening to my voice. And yeah, what you said about forgiveness as well, I think again just shows how self-trust really is kind of like a relationship that we build, because if
Yep.
someone that we love make a mistake, it's the same thing, right? We're not going to,
Repair.
yeah, we repair. Yeah, we do. We repair, we apologize, we talk about it, and then we
Hmm.
can keep moving on if that's what we choose, right? And I think
Yeah.
it's so important that we forgive ourselves and thank ourselves for our steps along the way. Um, yeah, going back to this concept of the self-trust account, this is something I also like to use as like a little bit of an image. So you make deposits and withdrawals from this self-trust account throughout life. So deposits are things like listening to your voice, or doing small acts of kindness for yourself, or following through on promises that you made. You can almost imagine yourself like putting little coins in the
Yep.
bank
Yep.
and thanking yourself for those things. So like, what were my deposits this week? What did I do? And it's crazy. You actually end up finding so many little things if you stop and look back and you're like, what can I thank myself for?
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, I got up early that day and I went for a walk, or I reached out to that friend, or all these things that actually are aligned that we might forget about because they're just little things that we do throughout our day. And then same goes for the withdrawals. There are always going to be withdrawals. Like
Oh
your
yeah.
story is a good example of that. It's you didn't know at the time, or you didn't have the strength at the time, but you do now. And maybe that situation was a little bit of a withdrawal where you maybe didn't listen to your voice. And I think those are the things that we need to forgive ourselves for, like you said, and just asking that question, like, what can I thank myself for this week? What can I forgive myself for? What do I want to forgive myself for? And just noticing those little withdrawals without expecting
Exactly.
them to not exist. Maybe it's just a question of how can I make sure I fill my account with so many deposits that it can handle a few withdrawals, you know? Like same way we save up money to be able to deal with emergencies, we can save up
Exactly.
self-trust so that we can handle some of those moments where maybe we don't have the strength or the capacity to or the knowledge to show up fully trusting ourselves.
Maybe like when you're talking about this, maybe it's like when you go into bias, that's when the self-critical part comes in. I mean, I think there's nuances there. It's not black and white, but
Mm.
and it's funny because when you said withdrawal, I thought you meant, when we can take trust, like our power and use it for
Uh,
good, but
mhm,
it can be both, right? So like it gets
mhm,
depleted, like where is it leaking? And also I feel like there's some moments where, and for those who are listening, I'm sure you have so many moments where you're just like, I need all the trust that I can muster up right now, right? Like I need that courage to make this decision where I don't know. Yeah, I see a hand going up. Where you don't know what's going to happen. And like you need a fat bank account of trust to be able to pool that. Yeah, facts. Amazing. And I think there we become very secure people because the more you do that and the more you have that in your account, there's so many situations that I could be put in, and I will be able to muster up a lot of trust in myself to be like, I'm making that decision, I'm moving forward, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, or even having trust to be like, I'm going to step back for a moment. And I know that my life is not going to, nothing's going to crumble, nothing's going to, I just need a moment. And that's also a sign of trust too, where it's just like, I'm trusting that I don't have to do anything. I'm trusting that I'm going to make an action. So, sometimes in life we kind of need that withdrawal as well, where we're using a lot of the trust in the moment. But I think even when we use trust, it's kind of like more of an investment, I would say. We're in the investment account because when you use trust, you automatically deposit more trust.
You can end up gaining more.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah. When you
I
use
like
it,
that.
you get
I
it
like
more,
the metaphor.
especially if you can hold it. And that's that regulation work because a lot of us, I work with my clients a lot with this that are kind of still in that dysregulated state with their trust and their truth and their authenticity, where it's like one moment they're clear, they make a move, and then it sends them into a spiral because they can't hold it, right?
Mm.
Trust is the frequency of truth in many ways. How much is your body, your life, your lifestyle supporting that truth? Because if you have a moment of clarity, which a lot of us do, especially when you start doing spiritual work and emotional work, you get clarity, you make an action, and then the
Mm.
next day you're like full of doubt, not sure. Oh my God, was that the right thing? And now you're totally off balance. So
Mm.
this is work that, a lot of people are helping people with, including us, where it's like, how do we stabilize self-trust as a normal thing, as something that's small, it's big,
Mm.
it's, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's such a normal experience, a relatable experience to have clarity on something and then the next day to notice this fear come up. And I wonder if it's almost this sense of, or this confusion around like what really is self-trust, or what is the difference again between like subconscious and
Mm-hmm.
intuition
Yeah.
and like our conscious, like rational, logical brain? Because I really do sometimes think we have that feeling And I think often it's the first feeling you have. So often before you start thinking and analyzing, you have this like draw towards something or this feeling. And
Hmm.
to me, that is often our intuition speaking to us, and often it's what we want to trust. But then, you know, we often see that as clarity, but then a lot of people also, like when we talk about clarity, you want clarity in terms of, I want to know that the outcome, again, going back to this, I want to
Yeah.
know that the outcome is exactly these things. And that to me is clarity. So it's almost this like confusion, or sometimes we get a bit lost, as well as like what you said about the nervous system state, which I think is so true. Like we actually need, our bodies need to be ready to hold the space. But then
Yeah.
I also wonder if sometimes we think of clarity as needing to know everything beforehand, needing to have an outcome that we can predict and knowing exactly what that looks like. Whereas I really think it's more so a case of feeling that initial little feeling or curiosity, taking action on it. And then I think the clarity comes after the action. I think the clarity comes
Hmm.
by living it and practicing it and doing it and seeing how it feels, um,
Yeah.
which
And that
requires some trust again in the
e-
unknown. Yeah.
exactly. And that sends most people's nervous system into a spiral because
Yeah.
it's just so that's why I'm always just like, what's your relationship to the unknown? Because that's going to be your level of trust. Because you
Mm,
cannot trust if you need to know everything. It's like an anecdote. So if
mm,
you need to know anything, everything, then your system is wired on regulation of the known, regulation of predictability, regulation of something outside of you that is validating something. And that's gets to be there. But if you want trust and if you want that kind of intuitive, which I know a lot of us do, we want to live our life on, that's where the magic is. There's so much magic in trust. There's so much, most of the things that we love in life are unexpected. Most of the things that you don't know exactly how a lot of the things in your life are going to come in. You don't know when the love of your life is going to come in. You don't even know when your baby is going to be born. Like the most beautiful things in life are unexpected. And unfortunately, I don't know why it happened, but we have just been trained to expect everything and calculate everything and predict everything. And we're not in the energy of potentiality. And it's scary to be in the energy of potentiality. But like, what if we can train our body and really like feel safe in potentiality, feel safe in the unexpected, but then
mm,
we're in a void. And it's like, who are you when you're in the void? And like, we would need a whole other podcast to keep talking about these things.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's such an interesting topic, and we can go in so many different directions with this. Um,
Mm. Yep.
what do you like? What is like a small? Do you have anything like small and concrete that people can use to regulate? You're coughing a bit. We'll give you a
Yeah, exactly.
second.
Choking on my coffee. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
What when you're talking to clients who experience this, um, what advice do you give them in terms of like embodying self-trust in like a more so like somatic physical way, or through breath?
Mm. I think learning emotional intelligence is a really big thing in my world because if you are ruled by
Mhm.
your emotions, you are ruled by a you cannot be in the it's like emotions want to tell a story, right? So it's like I feel this because of this and I love emotions, but I think emotional intelligence work is so important to be able to allow yourself to feel emotions without identifying as them.
Yeah.
And then a really practical thing is celebration, actually. Because when I celebrate the things that are working in my life, because again, as somebody who has been highly self-critical, nothing was ever enough. So I would do something, I would make a milestone, and then I'd be like, could have been better. I could have gone farther. I should have been there. I'm not gonna, I need to keep going. There was
Mhm.
never time to bask in milestones or good things that were happening in my life. And I noticed when I started to celebrate, when I started to make anchors, it literally creates, I mean, in a kind of neuroscience perspective, it creates memories of things working out. And as someone I've sabotaged so much in my life and been so critical of myself that when I started celebrating, it was actually the medicine. Because then I told my body, I told my mind, I told my life, like, thank you so much. And I did this and I'm so proud of this. And that was a huge deposit into my self-trust. Like, I did it. Like, it happened.
Mm.
I'm on the other side. And if you can take time to actually do that, and celebration, unfortunately, is just focused on birthdays and holidays, basically, that's it. It is like,
Mm.
why aren't we celebrating you following your intuition and it working out? Why aren't we celebrating you opening your business? Why aren't we celebrating you leaving the relationship that wasn't aligned? Why aren't we celebrating like whatever it is? So that for me is actually a huge thing that I work with my clients as well, because a lot of my clients are like me, going from being really highly critical of themselves and creating space for celebration is has been medicine. Yeah.
I love that. I feel inspired now to like incorporate that more in my own
Throw a
life.
party.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it really is so important. Like we really don't stop enough and notice the milestones that we're reaching or
Yep.
the work that we're doing and it's almost like if you're imagining this little child, like if you were responsible for a child or you imagine like you have a little niece or someone who is trying to learn something new, they're trying to learn to sing on a stage and they're really scared and they're preparing for this day. They're going to sing in front of everyone and they go out on the stage and they do it. Their voice is like a little bit like soft and they forget a couple words, but they go out on the stage and they do it.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine yourself like looking at that girl and just being like, you didn't do enough. Like, you should have done it this way. Like,
Yeah.
how would that make her feel? Like, would that actually encourage her to keep going?
Yeah.
Or would it like just fill her with
Exactly.
shame, right?
Exactly. I have an emotional intelligence program, Healing the Heart. And one of the big things that I teach there is that when we were kids, we got the validation from our parents. So most parents would celebrate the little girl, right? Have
Mm.
flowers and be like, oh my God, you did it.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That was your first show. That was your first dance. That was your first baseball game. That was your first football game. You walked, you did this. Like we have that external validation. But the rite of passage for adults is that you have to realize that you're the one who has to do that. But there's so many adults going around like, who's gonna clap for me? Who's clapping? No one's clapping. And then we're doing all this funny stuff, weird stuff to get validation, subconscious,
Yeah.
you know this. And it's just like you have to get to a point where you're giving yourself that validation. Like you have to be able to see yourself. Because when we were little, we were dependent on people seeing us. But
Mm.
unfortunately, this society, we don't have the rite of passage ceremonies or this teachings of these important topics. So we're continuing looking, can I trust? Can I trust? Is somebody
Yeah.
telling me I'm good enough?
Yeah.
Instead
Someone
of
tell
being
me
like,
that what I'm thinking and doing is okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
can I trust myself? It's like, I
Mm.
don't know, can you? Did you look in the mirror and are you tracking? Are you listening? Are you noticing? Are you celebrating? Are you growing? Like, I don't know. Over if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, like this is something that's on you now. And that's unfortunately missing in our rite of passage, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's even discouraged in some cultures, right? You know, you spend a lot of time in Norway. I'm from Norway. And, you know, in our culture, bragging about yourself is like, oof,
Yeah,
don't do that. Like it's don't celebrate yourself. It's almost this thing that we grow up with being taught not to do and then essentially it's, you know, no one else is going to do it. We're adults now and we have to validate ourselves and I think it's so sad that's seen as something negative or silly. Like, why wouldn't we want to celebrate ourselves and celebrate our friends? And, you know, like, what what is the problem with that? Or like, what are the negatives with that? You know, it would just bring more joy and more love and more self-acceptance and more trust.
yeah.
Yeah. But it goes against society a little bit, I think, depending on the culture, but
Yeah,
it takes some conscious kind of consciously choosing to do that, even if it's not what we've been taught. But yeah, as I was hearing you speak, I really thought about it. I thought about like the adults that I know, the people I have in my life, and I really don't think that celebrating yourself is something that most people, I think not many people practice it.
exactly.
Mm,
And validating, I mean, how much are we gaslighting ourselves as well? So you feel an intuition, you feel a truth, and then there's a voice in your head that's like, no, it's not a big deal. I
yeah.
mean, there's one thing about other people gaslighting us, but like you're gaslighting yourself. Okay, now I'm getting a bit sassy, you guys. I always get to a point where I'm just like, you, da, da, da. But it's like, how much are you actually gaslighting your own intuition, your own truth, your own values? Like, if you set a standard in your life where you're like, this is the level of relationship that I want, this is the level of presence that I want in my life, this is how I want to live my life. And
Mm,
then you try to like embody that. And then you're like, no, it's probably too much, or no, I don't know if I can do it. It's like you're gaslighting your own truth on your
mm,
way of how it's uncomfortable because you haven't done it before and you haven't really that's why you want it, right? Because it's like, okay, I really want this. It's going to be a bit awkward
mm.
getting there, but don't gaslight yourself because then you're disconnected to the trust.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we don't trust people who gaslight us.
exactly.
We
And
don't
we're
feel safe with
gaslighting
people who
ourselves
gaslight us.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that's so real. I relate to that a lot. I catch myself doing it sometimes as well. It's like, wow,
Invalidating
yeah, it's
your
so
own
invalidating.
experience.
You have a feeling or a thought, and you hear yourself saying, "Oh, I actually felt a little bit sad about this," or "I felt a bit upset," and then the voice just comes in and is like, "Oh, well, it's all you're being dramatic, or you're
Yeah, it's not
that's not
important.
fair. You should have more compassion for this person." And it's a bit silly because, I really think we can have compassion and kindness without having to sacrifice these
And
things. Yeah, and
exactly.
not more.
And
Yeah.
I'm angry. And you're
Yeah.
also like, yeah, I'm
My
this. And
experience is this. And I understand that like you might have a different experience, but my experience is I felt sad when you said that, and I'm gonna actually listen to that and trust it and not try and like talk myself into feeling something different. Um, yeah, I think it's so real. The gaslighting.
the self-gaslighting.
Mm,
Amazing. So we're getting close to the end. For those who are
mm,
live, feel free to put in like, how was this episode for you? And for those who are listening on Spotify or YouTube, I really hope that this brought you some, nuggets, some perspectives, and that you can reflect on your own relationship to trust, your own relationship to what that means in action as well. Like, what does it actually look like? So,
mm.
is there any kind of last words you want to say or share?
I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here and for listening. And yeah, just remember that it's a journey, it's a relationship. Relationships are not something that are always the same. They're always
Yeah.
changing, and it's never too late to start working on your self-trust. It's never too late.
Yeah.
It's You can always begin, and you can start by just asking yourself questions. I think that's a good way to start, asking yourself some questions and just seeing what comes up.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Amazing. So I will put Hedda's information on the show notes. Feel free to check her out, follow her on Instagram. She's making great content, and I'm just so excited for the continuing relationship with you, Hedda. And thank you so much for showing up here and sharing, yeah, your perspectives and yeah, your energy with us.
Thank you so much. It was really fun being here. I appreciate your trust in having me on. And yeah, same to you. I appreciate you, and I'm excited to keep getting to know you and your work.
Yeah.
Mm.
And just ending with this feeling I've had for so many years where it's like I can trust other people because I trust myself. I've
Hmm.
always had that feeling since I was young because people would ask me like, how do you trust that person? Or how do you go into that? How are you, open? It's like, yeah, because I trust myself. I trust that either they're going to show up and also in leadership. I mean, now, okay, we're opening up a whole other thing here, but in leadership as well, I've had to trust my team because I've led different teams throughout my career and different things. And it's like if I don't trust them, I'm projecting, this feeling and of not trusting them. And but then I also trust that I'll fix it. Like I trust that there will be repair. I trust that I'll be able to handle it. So it's like I trust other
Exactly.
people because I can also trust myself.
You trust that whatever shows up, whatever happens, you can trust yourself to deal with it when it comes.
Exactly. So it's better
Yeah.
just to be in, it's better to be in trust than to not be in trust.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
profound.
Better
Good ending
it's just better
sentence.
to trust. I
Just
but
trust, you
yes,
guys.
just trust, guys, trust yourselves. And I love be in trust. I love that too, because it's not trusting in something specific happening, trusting in the other person. I'm choosing to be in trust.
Be
And
in the frequency of trust.
yeah, I like that. Very
Yeah.
profound.
Okay. See you next time, everyone. Stay connected in whatever way feels natural. There's a lot of things happening in both of our worlds, so feel free to reach out if there's any deepenings that want to happen. And I will see you next month for the next episode. Sending so much love. Thank you again, Hedda, and thank you for everyone who joined live. Yeah, taking notes, learned powerful things. Oh, that's so good to hear.
Awesome. Thanks
All
for being
right.
here.
Yes. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.